Hi guys, my name is Chad Trofgerben, and I would like to welcome you to this VTC course on how to create an animated cartoon using Adobe CC. Throughout this course, we'll be using primarily Flash, Audition, and Premiere to create an animated production. We'll begin by first learning how to obtain the Adobe CC software and set up your computer to prepare for the project. Then we'll dive into creating a blueprint. This is a very important, yet sometimes overlooked aspect of animation. While we'll be using a preset blueprint for our own animation in this course, this is important to learn for when it comes time to create your own original works later on. We'll learn how to brainstorm, create an outline, write a screenplay, and map out a storyboard. We'll then move on to drawing. We'll first draw our scary monster who will be chasing our hero throughout this cartoon. We'll also learn how to rig him up as well, and even apply a simple animation to him that can be used in the main project. Then we'll move on to rigging up our hero. He'll already be drawn up for us. We'll just learn how to rig him differently than that of the monster. We'll then move on to building a scene. We'll build one scene so that you can apply these basics and build other scenes later on in your own original works. We'll be following a blueprint, and first we'll animate the establishing shot, and then the close-up of our character. He'll peek into the cave, the monster will come out, and then there'll be a chase sequence. Once we're all done with that, we'll record a voice in Audition, and then bring everything into Premiere. We'll cut and assemble, and we'll even apply some sound and music. After that, we'll export the video out so it can be shared with the world. By the time you're done with this course, you'll have a basic understanding of how to create an animated production using 3 pieces of software. I think this is going to be fun and educational, so I hope you're ready because we're about to get started. For this course, it is recommended that you have a subscription to the Adobe Creative Cloud. That way you for sure have access to all the software we'll be using throughout this series. So which pieces of software will we be using exactly? Well, let's check them out. First is Adobe Flash. This is the primary software for this course. We'll be spending the bulk of our time within this piece of software. And that's because all of the animation we'll be doing will be done in Flash. And Flash is great for animation, for creating linear animation that can then be distributed on YouTube and Vimeo. Not only that, it's great for non-linear projects as well, such as interactive elements, mobile games, and that kind of stuff. Now, if you're looking for a course more geared towards those interactive elements, you can check out my VTC course on Flash mobile game design that is also available on their website. So this will be the showcase or the highlight for this course, and we'll be spending most of our time in it. Now, the second piece of software we'll be spending a lot of time in is Premiere. And that's because once we have the animation all animated out and ready to go, we'll need a way to compile it or to combine it to create a cohesive story. And Premiere is great for that. And I think you'll come to rely on it pretty quickly once your projects become especially more complicated and you want to do more, such as incorporate audio or sound effects and music and different types of visuals, or just to edit your projects so that they're a little bit more seamless from scene to scene. Then we have Audition. Audition is great for audio recording. Now, there's many free alternatives out there, such as the built-in Windows Recorder or Audacity, which is a pretty good piece of software within itself. However, if you have a subscription to the Creative Cloud, or if you're using, let's say, the Video Production Suite for CS6, you already have Audition, so we might as well use it because it is a pretty powerful piece of software. So we'll be taking a look at how to record a voice, clean that up so that you could use it then in your projects. Finally, we'll be touching on After Effects. Now, with this course, it'll depend on how far we get into the animation process. We may just do a little bit with After Effects or more complicated stuff. It depends on where we sit when we get past the animation stage. With animation, there's a lot of trial and error, and then sometimes it's kind of hard to gauge just how much time will go into different elements. And it also depends on your needs. Some animations may require a lot of After Effects editing, while others may require none at all or very little. So we'll be taking a look at that just so you can get a crash course on how animation and After Effects can work together. And that's what we'll be looking at for this course. Now, even though it's recommended that you have Adobe CC, you can use, let's say, a video production suite with CS6, CS5, or lower. And the only difference you'll have here is you won't be able to open up the work files because everything will be designated as CC throughout this course, so lower versions won't be able to open these files up. Now, for the bare minimum, I would say at least have Flash and Premiere available to you, whatever version that you have of that, just so you can follow along with the major portions of this course. As discussed, in order to get the most out of this course, you should have access to the Adobe Creative Cloud. So if you've never used the cloud service before, or you're new to Adobe products, it might be kind of confusing going about getting the software on your computer. It requires a few steps. So that's what this video is for. If you already have the software on your computer, you can just skip on to the next lesson, as this really doesn't apply to you. So what we'll need to do first is go to adobe.com. You can see it, I have it right here. And once you go to the website, you'll come down here to Products and then click on Adobe Creative Cloud. Now, when you do this, you'll get access to an overview, the features, the membership plans, and so forth. Now, as discussed, it is a subscription service, so you'll be paying a monthly or yearly fee in order to gain access to all the software. And in order to find out just how much all this costs, you can click on the membership plans. And if you scroll down, you can see here just how much everything costs and what's included. Now, for most people, the individual single user's license will probably be just fine. But if you're using, let's say, a lot of software for different members of a business or team, you may want to go with one of the other two options. Now, when you click on, let's say, individual, you'll get access here to just how much this is going to cost. And it really depends on your needs. And hopefully there is a plan here for you that will work within your budget. Now, the good thing about this course is if you're just wanting to try out the animation aspects and you're not entirely sure if you want to buy a subscription to Adobe, you can scroll all the way down here to the bottom and you can try out the free membership for 30 days. That will give you access to all of the applications for a month, which should give you enough time to complete this course, and then you can decide if the software is for you. So, once you've figured that out, what will happen here is you'll need to create an account. And so, you can see right up here, I can actually log into my account, my cloud account. So I can click login, and this will take me then to the login page, and I can just sign in here. So I'll sign in quickly, and then we can jump to the next page. And you can see now I am logged in. And this is what your dashboard looks like for the Creative Cloud. Now, if you go to Download Center, you can see here all of your software is available. Now, if you want the application on your computer that allows you to easily install software, that is the Creative Cloud application that looks like this, you'll want to download the Creative Cloud app right here. And once you download and install that, you can then easily install the other software. But of course, you could just, for instance, click on one here, and you could learn more, and then you could download it if you wanted to from this link right here. It just depends on how you want to approach it. But let's say you have the application on your computer, like I do. Once you have that installed and you are logged in to the application, you can just come down here, and let's say, for instance, this is Flash, which it's not because I already have Flash installed. But let's say you find Flash, all you have to do is click install, and then after that, the process is automatic. It will download and install and basically do it all in the background. And before you know it, Flash will be on your computer. It'll have a little progress bar indicating just how long it will take. So you can go about that and install Flash, Premiere, After Effects, and Audition if you want to follow along with all aspects of the course. And then after that, you should be good to go. Organization is very important when working on any type of project, and of course that includes animation. And for this course, we'll be working with Flash files, audio files, video files, and more. So it's important that we have folders designated for these types of files. So what I would recommend is first opening up your file browser, and this will work the same for either PC or Mac. It just depends on if you're using Finder or Windows Explorer, but the principles are the same. Now, you'll want to find a folder here on your computer that will work in terms of making it kind of a central, I would say, area for your files. So I'm just going to go into the tutorial folder here, and what we'll do here is make a new folder. And we can name this then, let's say, project files. Now, if you're doing this, you may want to put an animation folder within My Documents as an example. Or you could put it really wherever you wanted to, just as long as it's in a safe place and it's easy to access as you work. So we can go into the project files folder now, and again we'll have Flash files and all sorts of different stuff. Now we could put everything right into this folder, but I like to organize things into subfolders when possible. So what we could do now is we can make a new folder here, and we can name this one Flash files. So this is where all of our Flash project files will be heading as we save them. After that, we can make audio files or audio. Then we could do, let's say, videos. And we could even go further. We could, for instance, make Premiere files as a folder. We could make, let's say, music if you want to separate out your voices from your music or sound effects. Or you could go into the audio folder and then make voices, sound effects, and music folders if you want. It just depends on how far you want to organize this. But for right now, we'll just have these 3 folders and we'll add more as needed. But just note, it's always best to organize early on, especially if you start to incorporate videos into your Premiere project files and your, let's say, your After Effects project files, because if you start to move files around after the fact, you'll need to relocate those files in Premiere or After Effects, because those 2 pieces of software, as an example, will reference the files on your computer, so having a consistent location is important. Since we'll be spending most of our time in Flash, it's important that you get your documents set up in advance along with the workspace. So right away when you launch Flash, you'll have this splash screen. The first thing you'll want to do is click on the ActionScript 3.0 option. This is the document type we'll be using when creating our animations. So click on that, and next you'll probably want to save your document because it's a good practice to save and save often. So you can go up to File and Save, or you can use Control S or Command S if you're on a Mac, and just find a folder on your computer where you would like to save this. And since we'll be working with the monster character right off the bat after the second chapter on brainstorming, you'll want to probably save this then as monsters, since that's the first file we'll be working on. Once you do that, you can click Save. So now you have this saved, and again, you'll want to save often just so that this file is always up to date in the event that your computer crashes or something else happens. So now you'll want to set up the properties for the document. This is good to do well in advance in the event that you place animation down or you have assets on screen. If you were to change the frame rate or size of the document later on, that could really disrupt your workflow and change the way the document looks and ultimately just give you a bunch of headaches later on. So first, for the frame rate, we recommend that you set this to 24 frames per second. That is the default in Flash. It's also a commonly used frame rate when doing computer animation. Now, you'll see other variations out there, such as 12, 15, 30, or 60, or anything in between. You can really set this to whatever you want. However, just make sure you set it up well in advance. For instance, let's say you have a character talking and you sync the voice to the mouth, but then later on you change the frame rate. Well, that will really alter the flow of how that works and even break the animation. So make sure you have that set in advance to avoid any potential headaches later on. The same goes for the size. Let's say right now you frame out your scenes for these dimensions, but later on you decide to enlarge the dimensions. Well, then you'll have all this dead white space occurring because you'll have a tiny little set, but more space because the document is bigger. So in this case, I would recommend 1280 by 720. This is the lowest form of HD resolution, and HD is used quite a bit now with YouTube and Vimeo, it's basically the standard. So it's in your best interest, especially if you plan to target venues like that you have at least the lowest HD resolution. You could even go as high as 1080p if you wish, which would give you a higher resolution, of course, making things look even crisper. But we'll keep it at the lowest just so we have a wider reach here for this tutorial series. Also keep in mind that we are recording at a lower resolution than 720p, and so things will probably look a little bit distorted when we're working on this document. You can see it's pretty big all the way across. That's just the way it goes when recording in a lower resolution. Also keep in mind that the recording is also in 15 frames per second. So our animations, while they are at 24 frames per second, are going to look a little bit choppier on the recording. But to get an accurate representation of what these will look like, just refer to your work files throughout this course and you can see what they should look like in case if you're worried about the choppiness. Finally, you'll want to set up your workspace. Now, for this course, we'll be using the Essentials workspace most of the time. You can see it's right here. The only change that's made is we took the toolbar and we moved it all the way over here. You can easily move your toolbars just by clicking and dragging, and you can put them over here or basically put them wherever you want in terms of the location. Just depends on how you want to approach it. So it probably looks like this for you, the Essentials workspace. We're just going to put the toolbar over here, and we'll actually probably make it 2 columns like this, just so it's easier for recording purposes. Again, you can have your workspace set up however you want, but if you wanted to emulate what we're doing, you can do Essentials with the toolbar on the left. So anyway, that's a little bit about setting up your documents in Flash. The important thing is, once you have a document set up like this, let's say we move on to another document like the character who is running away from the monster, you'll want to emulate these settings. So make sure you keep these settings consistent throughout all of your Flash documents. I may not remind you of this each time. I'll try to, but in case if I forget, just make sure that you keep these consistent. And to make things easier, you could also go to Edit Document Properties, and you could make these properties the default. If you click Make Default, you'll never have to worry about changing these, and that may be a good idea, especially if you're working on one project for a certain amount of time. So with that said, we can now jump into the outlining and brainstorming process of the animation. In this course, we'll be using an already made up storyboard to map out our animation. Now, this is great for learning. However, once you're done with this course and you want to branch out and make your own animation, you'll need to do a few things ahead of time to ensure that you're successful. It's always best to have an outline, to have a screenplay and storyboard when creating an animation. However, the first step should be brainstorming. This is very important because it allows you to spit up all of your ideas onto paper, and you can look at them, you can analyze them, and then you can decide what works and what doesn't as you start the outlining process. So when it comes to brainstorming, here are some suggestions you can use to get started. First, it's always best to have a writing utensil with you at all times, whether this is a notebook and a pen or a pencil, or something more modern like a smartphone and a tablet. Now, if you decide to go the more modern route, I would suggest downloading a piece of software called Evernote. You can find it right here, just evernote.com, and when you go to the website, all you have to do is go to Products, go to Evernote, and then click Download. You can download this for Mac or Windows, and you can also download it for Android, Windows Phone, or iOS. So you have many options, and the best part is you have a unified account. So once you download it, let's say for your Mac and then your Android phone, you can link those two applications together so that if you write a note down on your Android, you can come home, sit down at your desk, and then load up the note right on your Mac. So it works very seamlessly and it's great for note taking. So once you download it and you install it on your computer, you'll then be asked to create a free account for Evernote. And once you do that, you can then launch Evernote. You can see this is what mine looks like right here. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You have all of your notes that you've made right here, and you can even make notebooks for your notes. So let's say you have a series of ideas